Welcome to the Power Your Life radio show with host and success doc Joanne White. Author, speaker, certified coach, and energy master, Doc White gets to the heart of what matters most. She features guests and experts to help you consciously create more success, health, and wellness in every area of your life, work, and relationships. They'll share their success stories, wisdom, and know-how to help you shine more light onto your day and into your life. Power your life right now. Here's Joanne White.
Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today on Power Your Life. And I'm Dr. Joanne White. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I'm excited today. Oftentimes, we're not aware of the power that we have within ourselves and how we can utilize that in our lives, in our relationships, and really feel good about who we are and what we're putting out there in the world, again, not just with our businesses, but with our families, and most importantly, with ourselves. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Jamie Day, and she's the creator of the Divine Momming Movement, as well as the author of the Soul-To-Sisterhood book, and a registered drama therapist. She facilitates online and in-person groups for women that focus on empowerment, transformation, sisterhood, as well as magic. And she also works individually with clients, marrying her psychotherapy background with the potent and powerful work of the divine feminine as well as the sacred masculine. Jamie holds a Bachelor's of Fine Arts degree in music theater performance and has also earned a degree in marriage and family therapy as well as interdisciplinary arts. She is very much aligned with her divine purpose and her 14-plus years working with clients and leading connective and supportive groups for so many different populations, as well as her diverse background, has given her a beautiful, dedicated, solution-focused approach to work with people, incorporating a mind, body, and spirit connection that can help you awaken, affirm, and invoke the incredible strength within yourself. Welcome, Jamie Day. How are you?
Oh, thank you, Joanne. I'm great. I'm just so thrilled to be here with you today.
Well, I'm excited, and you have an incredible background, which I find fascinating. I love it. But most importantly, I love what you're talking about because despite our backgrounds, you are really focused on what really is important to you and to bring that out into the world to help other people. So can you share a little bit of your journey?
Oh, sure. As you read just a moment ago, my background way long ago is musical theater performance, acting, singing, dancing, directing, playwriting. And so that just was a way for me to really channel all of this creativity that was so powerfully expressed through me and to me. And then when I had some significant life changes, I really looked at the crossroads ahead of me, and I chose to sort of re-authenticate my performer self. And I figured out how to turn it into being of service. So I went back to school. I should say, before I went back to graduate school, I went on a spiritual pilgrimage to Egypt 2 years in a row. And both of those experiences activated this of service desire in me. And at the time, I didn't really have words to explain or express it fully, but now I know, after working with so many populations, so many families and couples, individuals, I really do feel like once we can honor and revere the authenticity of the feminine within every living thing, and that is the divine exalted feminine, that is the feminine that it gets expressed through our everyday living. once we can sort of really turn our focus and our attention to that, understanding it with deeper levels of understanding while also supporting ourselves and others through that deep understanding, then we really invite the sacred masculine to join us in that same energetic vibration. And for me and for the work that I've been doing for a decade plus, when we have that inner marriage, our vibration speaks for us and we inspire others, whether we realize it or not, just through our choices, our ways of being, our deeds. And when we do that, we really do inspire our entire human family to come together, to unite, to transform, and to heal. So today we're talking about cyclical lunar wisdom. And for me as a woman, as a mother of a girl child who's 12 and a half, I really do feel like this is a great place to start for us to begin to understand some facets of this brilliant diamond known as the divine feminine.
I think that's so important, but I want people to recognize that the divine feminine is also within all of us, and I think you mentioned that earlier. Within us is the masculine and feminine, and it's so important to be able to balance those within ourselves so that we feel good and empowered and can be at a level of self-mastery. So that's wonderful. So
yes, exactly what you said. We each have our own unique percentage or fingerprint, if you will, of this identity of how both of those energies are expressed through us and through every living thing.
So describe a little bit about what you mean by the sacred masculine, because people need to know that too, and then we'll get back to more.
Oh, the sacred masculine really is just a reflective mirror of what I said about the sacred feminine or the divine feminine. We get to honor these exalted qualities of the masculine within us with equal respect and reverence, with compassion and understanding. And when we do that, we create what I like to call an alchemical marriage within us, so that our inner masculine and our inner feminine come together to support one another equally. And that creates this sort of optimal expression so that we have lives that feel more aligned, more in balance. And we get to just really feel into what that feels like for just authenticity, peace, bliss, joy, kindness, compassion, connection, all of those things.
Okay, and I totally get that and work with that as well. So I want to have people understand this a little bit. Oftentimes within us, we're not realizing who's in charge here. You know, we should be in charge with respect to the masculine and feminine that's within us, and really have them, like you said, Jamie, working beautifully together. What happens when, and this is within male and female, when the masculine is so in charge that the divine feminine kind of takes a back seat?
The masculine has very specific gifts that, like any gift, when there is an over-identification with it, it can get out of balance. So let's take something as well known as productivity. We all have an inner side of us that is driven to produce. And that productivity can be in alignment, and that would be the divine masculine expressing, or it can be out of alignment. So think about it, Joanne. When that side of you, your productive side, is out of alignment, typically we are overextending ourselves, we're overscheduling ourselves. The end justifies any means. We're working through being tired, being sick, and we're really missing the beauty and the mystery and the majesty of life. And when we do that, we shut ourselves off to the divine feminine gift of slowing us down, of paying attention to the natural cycles that are inherent in this world for us to use and utilize. We can get so focused that love and compassion and our emotional natures can get pushed to the backside, and they can get pushed down so far that we forget that we even have them. So productivity is just one aspect of the masculine that we see a lot in our world getting really out of balance.
You know, and that's so very important because we need that balance. We need that balance to feel good about ourselves, to, like you said, to be energized rather than exhausted. And when we have the divine feminine and the sacred masculine working together in unison with us, because we're the ones that are in charge, it's an incredible, beautiful experience. So tell our listeners what happens when the divine feminine is out of balance and totally leading and not paying attention to the sacred masculine.
You know, it is a really interesting dynamic, and it's going to sound kind of similar. Our divine feminine is in us to remind us to tend to ourselves, to really give for ourselves, to self-resource, to meet our own needs, to really find what lights us up, what fills our cup, and to do more of that in equal balance. And when that gets out of balance, oh boy, we can fall into a place where we feel spread so thin. We're looking for outside validation because we're not meeting our own needs through our own inner resourcing, our own inner knowing. And we cut ourselves off from our intuition because we get so focused on these small lanes of our lives. We forget to stop and smell a beautiful rose. We forget to stop and hug our babies and our loved ones. We forget to stop and look at ourselves in the mirror in self-acknowledgement. And when that happens, we turn ourselves away from our cyclical living. We turn ourselves away from the mystery and the magic that is inherent with us with our intuitive psychic gifts. And when both of these are out of alignment, we can feel so victimized by life. We feel exhausted. Like you said, our energy is depleted. Nothing feels good. Everything feels like a have to instead of a get to. So I don't want to live like that, just putting one foot in front of the other to survive this gift of life that we have. I want to balance my inner feminine and my inner masculine so that it is an equal exchange of living, of giving and receiving, and just of being aware of the beauty that is surrounding us and the beauty that is within us.
You know, when we're able to balance that, and it does take some work. It doesn't always happen naturally, especially how we've been brought up and others in our lives or externally adding their own thoughts or their own presumed wisdom or whatever to tell us how to live and how to be. And it's really important to kind of be able to integrate ourselves in that balancing way that you're describing so beautifully. So what does it mean, Jamie, or how do we get to a place of really loving ourselves and appreciating ourselves? So many people are so out there to succeed and do well, but they're missing a very important inner dynamic about caring for themselves and loving for themselves. How do we get to that place where we're feeling that self-love and that self-support?
That's a great question. I think practical application of the wisdom in ways that are realistic to be integrated into our daily lives is a great place to start, because so often we are given these ideas, or I should say ideals, that seem like they resonate, but then we go to apply them, and for whatever reason, the train gets derailed from the tracks. And then we are just adding even more pressure onto our own shoulders. And when we do that, those inner voices of self-blame, self-criticism, self-judgment, self-punishment, they can come on rather quickly and very loudly. So we need to think of just small shifts. I mean, you said something so profound, Joanne. We are such dynamic beings. So we're holding all of these beliefs and also these rules of being that we may not even know are driving the ship of our existence. And that can come from our families of origin. Science, thankfully, is following the spirituality, so we hold epigenetic markers from our ancestral lines that could be playing out on the stages of our lives. We receive all of this sort of influence from the people, places, and things that we engage with and in on a daily basis. So step number one is really just to start to create and sovereignly curate this relationship to yourself. I mean, so often we are asked these questions. What is your favorite movie? What is your favorite song? And sometimes we have an answer, sometimes we don't. But what if I was to say, what really makes you happy? What really opens your heart with unconditional love? What fills you with joy and kindness? Those are some questions that we can just take a minute each morning to sit and ask ourselves. And an answer may not come the first time we do this, the second, third, fourth, fifth, but it will. Because what we're doing is we are putting our attentional energy back into ourselves. And when we do that, the different aspects of our body notice and they perk up and they start to want to communicate back with us.
I love that. So what's important is, again, take some time and really kind of figure out, like you said, what makes us feel good, what makes us feel joyful. This morning, I actually, you're going to love this, I actually chopped carrots to feed the birds outside. Now somebody's going to say, Joanne, didn't you have something better to do? But yes and no, because it's so wonderful for me. It's so wonderful to see nature and animals and birds like be there and receive and all of us. So it sounds simplistic, but that was a joyful moment, and it really didn't take that long.
Joanne, that is the full expressed embodiment of your inner masculine and feminine right there. You took time. You followed your heart. You protected the sanctuary of what you knew you needed at that moment. You took agency and you followed what you knew in the moment was in alignment, and you connected to the natural world. You connected to the animals. There was inherent generosity in what you were doing. So that right there is a beautiful example of the expressed masculine and feminine within.
Well, thank you. Putting it that way, it sounds great.
You're welcome.
Joanne. Somebody said, Joanne, could you do something better with your time? Yes, but I enjoyed that moment, and so did the birds. So there you go.
There you go. You were giving and receiving. That right there, the masculine and the feminine.
And, you said that so beautifully, giving and receiving. And if we do that, Jamie, if we're living in that, because that makes us feel good. I mean, it's not just take. We feel good when we also give. And that's important. And when we do that, like you're saying, that creates that inner balance that we need to feel so fulfilled within our lives. And it doesn't have to be any large expression, but just little moments, little gestures within our lives for others, for ourselves, that create so much more meaning and love, not only for ourselves but out in the world. I think that's so very important. And your work you do that within your work so beautifully. I have a question for you. How do you get couples, who are very different? They both have masculine and feminine within them. They may not be aware of it or whatever, but how do you get them into alignment, recognizing that masculine and feminine within themselves, and also be able to balance that within the relationship?
It's a great question. And I think it's a perfect dovetail into this conversation about cyclical lunar wisdom. So let me backtrack for a second. In our relationships, we get into a relationship because we want, let's list it, companionship, connection, joy, sensuality, sexuality, intimacy. And so in our relationships, life comes at us fast, and sometimes those things seem so fleeting. However, when we can sort of slow it down and look at these cyclical opportunities to really honor ourselves and our partners, this can give us a chance to just recalibrate back to amazing. Because that's why we're here, to feel better, to do better, to experience all that life has to offer. And through our relationships, oh boy, they are our greatest teachers. And sometimes that classroom feels anything but blissful. However, if we stick with it and we find a way to take what is working for us and do more of that in the context of the relationship, the classroom transforms, and it does get easier. It gets more in our blood and in our bones.
So how can you share that a little bit more specifically and practically so that couples know how to integrate that more in their lives?
Okay, well, first step is we have all stopped and looked up at the moon at some time in our lives. So we have this gorgeous teacher in our night sky, and Mother Moon goes through phases. She is cyclical. She is not linear. She is not static. And if we think of ourselves, and this is where the divine feminine within really comes in to ask for awareness and attention and energy, we're not really static, linear beings 100% of the time either. Are you the same person that you were 1 year ago or 5 years ago with the same dreams and thoughts and feelings and ideas?
Yeah, no, never.
Yeah, me neither. However, because I have chosen through this lifetime to be a human woman, I am even less linear than, say, what some men might identify as what feels comfortable for them. So talking about Mother Moon, she goes through 4 stages through what's called her synodic month. And the synodic month doesn't really line up with our calendar perfectly. The synodic month is about 29.5 days. And through that 29.5 days, she goes through 4 specific phases. Traditionally, other modalities talk about 8. Today, we're just going to keep it as simple as we can and talk about the 4 main phases. The first phase is when she is dark in the night sky. The second phase is when she is growing in her waxing phase. The third phase is when she is full in the night sky. Most of us recognize the full moon. And then the 4th phase is when she is diminishing in the night sky. It's known as her waning phase. So these 4 phases work on our bodies, our hearts, our minds, our spirits, and they offer so many gifts for us to harness.
So give us some examples, Jamie, of the gifts that we get through these 4 cycles, because it's so important for people to know that.
Yeah, so think about when Mother Moon is dark. This is traditionally known as the first phase. And the first phase is called the crone dark moon. Some people refer to it as the new moon. My teachers always taught me to say the dark moon so that it didn't get confused with when she is growing in her maiden waxing phase. So the first phase is known as the crone dark moon. Now, for us as women, we experience a menstrual cycle. And the menstrual phase of that cycle that correlates to the dark crone moon is the time when we're bleeding. So even if a man is listening to this and maybe some thoughts are coming up thinking, oh, this information isn't for me, I don't have a menstrual cycle, we all engage with the feminine within us. We've already spoken about that. And we're living in this world of the spectrum of people to get to engage with, who all have their own unique identity of these masculine and feminine qualities. So as a gift for ourselves, we receive this information. And as a gift for others, we are able to revere this information and respect it. So that's that kind of giving and receiving cycle that you identified feels so fulfilling. So the crone dark moon is our time as human beings to pull in and hibernate. It's our time to rest. It's our time to maybe put the phone down and look at our calendars and create some space just for ourselves to be quiet, to meditate, to rest, to sleep, to take a nap. There can be a side of us that hears this and think, oh boy, I can't do that, because what if I want to do that every day? Right? We start to think, if I do it once, it'll be a pattern, it'll be a habit. The best thing about this lunar wisdom is that it is not cyclical, because when we turn to the very next phase number 2, it's a whole different ballgame of different gifts and different energy that we feel in our systems. So that crone dark moon phase that correlates to the bleeding time of the menstrual phase, it's really our time to get quiet, Joanne. It's our time to treat ourselves with nutrient-dense activities, a gentle yoga practice, finding some meditations that we like to listen to. Maybe we want to listen to some music that really, just gives us a sense of peace and relaxation. This is not time to really go dark, because during this particular phase of our bodies really communing with Mother Moon, we're going dark to release what's no longer serving us. And we won't be able to identify what's not working if we're so distracted and busy and exhausted and overwhelmed.
And what's so important is that, again, it's not just for females. If we're all paying attention to the moon and to the different phases, as you're talking about, Jamie, then this is the time for all of us to be able to rest, to integrate what's going on within us in a quiet, in a balanced way, and that's so very important. And that's so important for people to understand and pay attention to what's going on externally, like you said, in the night sky, and also within us. So you've described that so beautifully. What do you want our listeners to know about this lunar wisdom and the cycle within us? We only have a little bit of time.
I just want everyone to know that this information really is held in our cells. So it's not a process of learning, it's a process of remembering. And so as I know we've spoken about phase number 1, there are 3 other phases to get to, and they all are just so ripe with gifts for this human earth school experience, as one of my teachers would call it. So if we can all just remember that the natural world is here to support us, and through the activation of our inner masculine and our inner feminine, we can stop and take a moment and notice. And we can receive from the natural world, and then whatever we receive, we can remember that our energy is receiving that, and we share it just by being ourselves. We don't even have to do anything.
I love that. That's important. Give our listeners, because somebody wants to know a little bit about what happens during the full moon for us internally, male and female.
It's a great question. So briefly, let's touch on stage number 2. That is known as the waxing maiden moon phase. And instantly with this word, the maiden, my guess is you're already having some feelings and some pictures jump to mind. We go from the dark moon of pulling in the very next week, and it's usually about a week, give or take a few days. We go right into this maiden energy, and the maiden energy is fresh and energized. She's very clear. She's focused on the physical plane. And so that maiden energy, no matter what our age or stage of life is here for us to use and utilize. Then from the maiden waxing moon, we go right into the full moon, and we call her the full mother moon. And when the full mother moon is in our night sky, that is really our time of fertility, of giving birth to new life, whether it be human children or idea children. And we are all divine mommies and divine daddies of idea children every day, all day long. The full mother moon also reminds us that we can dance our authentic dance under her full illumination. And that authentic dance during this phase may feel like being on the output. We're naturally going to have more energy from the maiden within us to be that caretaker, that caregiver, that pivot point for our families and our society. So we have this energy to be on the flow. We are flowing out from the maiden and the mother. Then very quickly after the full mother moon, we start the ebb. We start the retreat again to prepare for the crone moon. However, stage number 4 is a very important stage that oftentimes gets overlooked. That's the stage of the waning enchantress moon. This is our inner gatekeeper, gifting us the awareness to begin to communicate that we are going to go into a hibernation phase in a couple of days, so let's wrap things up. The enchantress waning moon correlates to the season of Mother Earth's cycle, the season of fall. So for those of us that maybe grew up in the Midwest or in the north of the United States, I live in Florida, so we don't get a lot of the seasons, but I did grow up in Illinois. The fall is a time for pulling in and preparing for the death of winter. So the enchantress waning moon phase is a really important preparation phase because we're beginning to retreat. We're beginning to pull in. We're beginning to ebb so that we can prepare for the next phase, which is the crone. And we go through them over and over and over again.
Beautiful. Jamie, you did that beautifully. Thank you so much. So tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you, how they can get a hold of the book, the Soul-To-Sisterhood book, and so much more.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Joanne. So I would invite everyone, whenever you listen to this, send me an email. My email address is Jamie, Jamie, at divine, and that's spelled DIVINE. There's a hyphen, and then mommy, MOMMY.com. Jamie at divine-mommy.com. Send me an email. Let's keep this conversation going. I plan to do a free masterclass diving deeply into this lunar cyclical wisdom for individuals and couples. And then by midsummer, I'll have a whole online course that couples and individuals will be able to take themselves through. I also have a daily Divine Mommy Moon Journal that I'm happy to send everyone for free. Just send me an email. I'll send it to you. And it will be a way, masculine or feminine or whatever mixture of the two that feels most resonant for you at this moment, at this time. It'll be a way for you to start to track what you're noticing about yourself, what you're noticing about Mother Moon's phase, what you're noticing about the correlation to Mother Earth's seasonal phases, and how that's playing out for you mentally, physically, emotionally, psychically, through the dream state, and also intimately through your relationships. So I just invite everyone, let's keep this conversation going. I love sharing this wisdom. We can dive so deeply into the divine masculine archetypes that are the sacred partners or husbands of the divine feminine archetypes that correlate with this cyclical lunar wisdom. And there is just such a deep well of wisdom to get to dance together within. So please, please, please get in touch.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jamie, for all you do, for bringing this wisdom into our life so that we can resonate with our incredible empowerment, wonderful selves, and also with each other, and also with the world and nature and everything around us. Have a beautiful and blessed day.
Thank you, Joanne. You too.
Thanks. So think about what Jamie Day said, because, again, all of these gifts are within you, and being able to recognize what phase you're in, what cycle you're in connection and correspondence with the moon and the sun, really can help you understand how you're feeling and what you need during the specific times of your lives, and also being able to balance the internal divine feminine and sacred masculine, so that you are in balance and in flow, which is so important, not only to feel good, but also to be able to live your life purposefully and fulfillingly, and that's so beautifully important. So again, think about that, and remember, each day of your life, you have the ability to empower yourself, to feel good about who you are, and it doesn't always mean taking gigantic big steps. It means just being able to recognize that and move forward, even if it's just one small step at a time. Remember, you are amazing, and it's so important to acknowledge that and to access the incredible strength, love, and support and balance that's within you. Thank you for joining us.
You've been listening to the Power Your Life radio show with host and author Dr. Joanne White. Listen often and spread the word about the upbeat show to enrich you and grow your life in the direction you desire. Listen again and again, and visit docwhite.org for more information and find out how Dr. Joanne can benefit you. Thank you for sharing your day with us, and stay tuned for more exciting guests and events to come.